just want to sort of qualify that statement, running into a storm. Now, I'm not hugely into drama, but you know, there's a storm I want to deal with. I've got this opportunity, or there is an opportunity to go and find a secure harbour, which is Milford Haven, which is Cardiff, Swansea, but they are quite significant sails. And although I later discover in my journey, because I am quite a way beyond what you're actually seeing, I can do 60-65 miles in a day. But at the moment, the prospect of doing 50 to 55 miles is just too much for me, as you see it on the video now. So I'm sort of looking at trying to find a safe haven, but there is not one. You know, in this sailing bit you see now, I'm sort of heading sort of kind of a north-east direction, trying to get up around Infracoom to find this anchorage that I wanted to sort of stop in. But halfway across, and I'm having a great sail, I'm kind of thinking, I don't know the anchor. I don't know how good it is or how protected it is, and it might actually be a lot worse than what I already know. So the logic was okay, let's turn around and go back and camp out in Ilfracombe Bay, or Barnstaple Bay, sorry. And the other thing was, I was curious. I was really curious what it was like to anchor in a storm. Storm being sort of 30-35, I can't remember what that is on the Beaufort scale, but obviously clearly there's a lot worse things. Now my boat has an 8 kilo CQR anchor, so it's not huge, heavy duty. And as you'll see later on, I use 2 anchors. But I wanted to experience it. I wanted to see what it's like, see what I was capable of, see what the boat was capable of. And deep down, I knew there was no huge kind of negative kind of end to this story. You just felt I was going to come out of it. And that's kind of what's held me along for all my adventures I've done in the past. When I've ridden over the Himalayas on a Royal Enfield on my own, I just felt like I'd get to where I needed to go. 3 days journey. You know, the bike wasn't going to break down. If it was, I'd sort it out. I'd get there in some way, somehow. And I always had that belief that I will get there, no matter what. And this is the same kind of philosophy I had with this, is that, okay, so the storm's coming. I want to try it. I want to anchor it. It's probably going to be my best option, given that I know the anchorage, because I've already been there once. I know its potential direction. I know the direction of the storm, as long as it stays its predicted kind of direction. And I decided, logic said, right, let's give it a go. Let's see what happens. What's the worst that can happen? Well, I know what the worst can happen, but I didn't believe that was going to happen. And so yeah, so there you have it. This is what I'm going to do, ride out a storm.
Well, good morning, it's 7 o'clock in Bedford Bay, also known as Barnstaple Bay. And I've got a 24-mile journey just to find an anchorage for...
tomorrow, which is stormy. Depends which weather forecast you look at. If you look at the UKMO, you're looking at 34, 35 knots of wind. Although where I'll be, it's going to be on the periphery, hopefully. Other sites, this is all on predict wind. Other sites paint it as less, so it's going to be one of those things.
So I think I found an anchorage which looks reasonably protected for the kind of southerlies. So yes, it's southerly winds that are coming through, and then southwesterlies. So just to hide out on Saturday.
So here I've just dropped 25 meters of chain with the 8 kilo anchor, and I'm in 5 meters depth of water. So now is to set the anchor. So I've got the engine in reverse. I'm trying to find a point on the land to look at to see if there's any movement. It's not that easy. I've kind of forgotten I could use a point on the boat to do that, match up with the land. So I'm going back, and what I'm doing is I'm checking tension, seeing that slack rigidity sort of sequence come along in the chain. But the problem is that the wind is quite strong even now, and it's pushing the boat, and it's maintaining a reasonably strong tension. So I'm trying to feel for it and seeing what I could find, seeing whether there is a variation in there. And I do pick that up kind of gently, at which point I say to myself, great, fine, move on. Pretty good. But the one problem in my plan is the fact that there's a storm coming, and I want to make sure that anchor is absolutely bitten tight. So I give the engine a bit more welly, sort of revs up, probably about 2,000 revs, trying to see what happens, and it's clearly not moving at all. So I kind of think, yeah, good, no problem. She's done. So this is the calm part at the moment. Winds are kind of gusting up to about 18 knots, but mostly kind of settling there, 5-6 knots. So it's more or less quite similar to where I was last night. I was probably about another 100 meters that way. So this is out there in the bay. You can see on the shore there, it's there's just hardly anything at all. And I don't know how much that's likely to change, but theoretically not a huge amount, because the sea swell is actually coming from that direction. No, that's not helping you at all. Anyways, so this might help you a little bit. I'm here at the tip of the arrow facing that direction. The wind is presently coming in the direction of the blue arrow, and is later on this evening expected to change to this direction. So that's loose at the moment, but I'll check that. Recheck the tension as the boat changes its position. So at the moment, the wind is coming this way, and later on the wind comes from this way. Yeah, a bit more tension in there already. The angle appears tight between the two warps, but I did drop the anchor with the view that when the boat position changes to the southerly, it will be more like the 90 degrees that is the recommendation. So this is pretty much hitting low tide now. We're at 2 meters depth, and probably a little bit too close for comfort. I've actually had to pull the anchor in a little bit. High water will be about 8 o'clock, and then low water again at 2 o'clock in the morning. And that's roughly the time the wind will shift, not before, sort of between, well, say midnight to 2 o'clock. So when I've let the anchor out full to cope with the higher winds, I'm going to be hitting at 1.5 meters, 1 meter maybe, and that's when the alarms start to kick in. So I think I'm going to have to reposition the anchors just a little bit further out to sea, maybe 10 meters or so. Winds at the moment sort of hitting 18 to 20. No major issue at the moment. The boat's drifting, but yeah, there's not much of a swell coming through, so it's all relatively comfortable. Yeah, just listening to the rigging sing. Yeah, it might be screaming later on, but it's quite calming at the moment. It's 4 o'clock by now, and the chaos is arriving bit by bit. Plenty of rain, plenty of winds, still kind of 18, 20 knots, mostly upper teens to be honest. The tide is coming back in quite quickly. I did shorten the warp a little bit, so I'll let out the warp more as the depth increases. So the time's coming out at 5 o'clock. I don't know if you can hear that noise. Winds are still about 18, 19 knots. They're fairly constant now. The sea state's not changed. No real swell, just wind-blown sort of water. And the boat's just doing its usual twisting back and forth on the anchors. So it's about 9:30, and the latest update is that the wind will change from around about 10:30, which is good. So I probably won't have to do anything with the chain, the lines and stuff, the anchor. And it looks like it will peak at around 1:30 and start to decline about, or would have declined significantly. I would say significantly, probably low 20s by about sort of 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. So all good so far. Just going to go try and get some shut-eye, put the alarm on for about 12, that's if I do get to sleep. So keep some vigilance going and go from there. It feels like the wind has completely died, which it clearly has not. It's about 10:30 now. Or it's the change of direction, and that's a remarkable difference. So the cliffs are doing all the protecting now, and the wind is going straight over the top in a northerly direction. So all that battering I've had over the last sort of 4 or 5 hours is completely stopped. It's quite extraordinary change. Unless I'm in an eye of a storm, which I'm not. There's a breeze around, and the boat's rocking. You can hear the wind, and it's there. It's just not battering the boat anymore. Yeah, I've just checked the wind gauge, and that's registering 5-6 knots of wind. So that is an incredible difference. Let's see if it lasts. I'm just standing out in the cockpit at the moment of the boat. The sky is actually cleared. I can see the plough up there. It's not completely clear, but there's a huge section above that's just got no cloud cover at all. Oh, it's quite surreal. There is a breeze around. There's not a swell as such, just a light rocking. All very unexpected. I'm kind of half expecting something to half expecting the shit to hit the fan soon. Don't know if you can hear that. Maybe a flight of birds. Well, that's the morning after. 7:40 in the morning. It's all good. There's a swell coming in from the west now, so the boat's getting kind of rocked around a little bit. Apparently there's still wind up there. Can't see a huge amount in the trees at the top of the cliff. Remarkable, isn't it? You know, what one day makes. This was a perfectly still anchorage, even though it had those brutal winds. There was hardly any swell at all. And after the storm, the swell's coming across the bay. There's quite some big swell coming through. I mean, it's a metre and a half maybe. I guess that's the aftermath of the storm. Is that normal for a storm? Mind you, there's still some quite strong winds out there. 24, 25 knots going kind of, they are southwesterlies. So going straight onto the Pembroke coast. Yeah, it looks like the weather ain't fixed to me just yet.